Celtic FC Appreciation. It's a weekly roundup show. Delighted to say tonight joining us is our regular pundit John Tierney, TikTok star, loads of Celtic content. Get on and check him out. And delighted to say all the way from Nevada, Las Vegas is Gianni Capaldi. Delighted to get you on, Gianni. Been dying to get you on for ages, mate.
Cheers, it's good to be on.
Yeah, so as I say, like our sponsor 67 Tim Alloy Apparel, check him out on Instagram for all your Celtic clothing. We're all over the socials. All you need to do is search Celtic FC Appreciation and give us a follow and a like on. We're streaming across Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter tonight. And obviously, we're on the YouTube channel. Any questions or comments you have for any of the guys about anything Celtic related this week, get them into us and we'll get through them. We're going to be talking, lot to talk about the past week. The win against Ross County in the league that stretched the lead to 6 points. Obviously, that's been halved again today. The Dundee United Cup win. We've now got Rangers in the semi-final, potentially 3 derby games in April. So we're going to be talking about that and obviously talking about the injuries and getting the likes of Turnbull and Abada back yesterday. Hopefully get Kyogo back. Question of the day we're going to put to you guys. With a treble potentially still on, would you be disappointed if we never finished the job? Gianni, do you think it'd be disappointing if we never finished a treble at this stage?
I mean, the realistic thing is we've got a semi-final against Rangers, and then I always feel that the finals outside Rangers are always trivial anyway. So do well on the 17th. I think a treble should be on. But prime importance is obviously winning the league, because this year winning the league is, it's a guaranteed 30 to 40 million, and that'll make a difference to any club, and it will just win between us and them. So I would happily give up the Scottish Cup if it got the league, but I think we could do both. So let's go get them.
What about you, John?
Yeah, I'm the same kind of boat. I think it's one of the ones that we want the league. We're so focused, hyper focused almost in the league, that we want to ensure that we get that across the line, and thereafter, the Scottish Cup is a sort of, if we get it, it's great, but if we don't, then it's not so bad. I'm just glad that we've obviously got the league across the line. Just to make sure we get there. We've not got long left, so we'll just keep going until we get there.
Yeah, as I say, I'm a massive Scottish Cup fan. I've loved the Scottish Cup since I was younger. I think that was my dad's kind of influence on me. He loved the Scottish Cup because it was the last game of the season. It's always a really kind of sunny day. It's always really good. And hopefully, as I say, we get there. But bread and butter is obviously the league. Obviously, just going to let Gianni back in. So yeah, as I say, league is the bread and butter, guys. But obviously, Scottish Cup would be amazing. So we want to know what you guys think. If a potential treble would be on the cards, if you'd be disappointed. Paul McClellan, obviously a good guy, good DJ. Get on his page if you need a DJ for anything. Gary Lamb, big shout out for treble winners 21-22. Gary Lamb also says the league is the main thing. We are flying in domestic unbeaten since September. Outstanding from Big Ange and the players. Yeah, 31 games unbeaten, guys. We'll start with Ross County yesterday. 4-0 win at Celtic Park. Dominant from the start. John, I know you would have been there. What was your thoughts on the game?
I thought it was a very, very, very good game. I thought it was exhilarating. First half was excellent. And I just thought it had everything in it that we want at this point in the season. We have a tendency to find that maybe players might get fatigued, and Ange's always said, the best is yet to come from these group of players. Towards the end of the season, we look as though we get into fifth year. I thought Maeda was incredible. I thought Big Giacomakis, getting a hat-trick was fantastic. Hitati, I thought he had a great game. I thought the game had actually everything in it from a fan's point of view. Second half we tailed off, but going in 3-0 at half time is just brilliant.
Yeah, and Gianni, obviously Big Giacomakis coming to the front again. Another hat-trick, back-to-back hat-tricks. I think somebody says to me last night, Larson might have been the last player to do it. Early 2000s. Do you think he's starting to become the player we all thought he might be?
Yeah, I mean, everybody has a different time necessary to bed in, and Kyogo just came flying off the mark, and some players take a bit of time. And Jackie Markets has this big physical presence. You know, he's exactly what we need, because I feel with the other strikers, you know, with Wade and Kyogo, we lack the height and we lack the strength. So having that guy play is, you know, it gives us a contrast for our attacking options. But yeah, I think he's really coming good, and he's got that goal prowess about him now, and the confidence is oozing out him. And I think that's what strikers need, you know. And when he missed that penalty, that cost us like 2 points, you know. I mean, that must have been his lowest at low point. So going for that moment to, you know, hat tricks back to back. I mean, what a difference! And you know, time. See, the cream always rises to the top. So with this boy, I think you know, it was just a matter of time. So glad he put it.
Yeah, and as I say, like, you know, you mentioned that penalty miss against Livingston. I still remember walking to work that night and thinking, oh, you know, it just felt like we were getting so close to Rangers at that point. It felt like one step forward, two steps back, and I suppose if he'd missed that penalty back in Holland, you know, I probably nobody would have batted an eyelid. But I think with the fact that it's the Scottish League and everything's scrutinised, if you miss a penalty, especially if you play for Celtic or Rangers, you know, you need to stick these chances away. But obviously, in terms of yesterday, you know, he got off the mark pretty early. Great header at the back post, but brilliant ball from Jota, who obviously returned from injury. Do you think he looked a bit sharper yesterday?
Who, Jota? You talking about?
Yeah.
I know he came back, and he one of his games was he was in one of his games, but I mean, listen, guy's got skill. He's one of the most skillful players on the ball we have, I believe, and you know, he can turn most people inside out. So he's definitely somebody we really want to see when on a long-term contract at Parkhead. You know, I know we've got an option on him, but you know, who knows how. But I definitely think if we get the Champions League, it'll give us the cash. It'll also give the incentive to the players to stay. So like this year, the league is so important to us and for a rebuild for Ange. So Jota's one of my favourite players at Parkhead right now.
Yeah, and do you think the club will be able to keep him in the summer? I know you say we've got an option to buy. I'm hearing rumours that there is a deal in place at the end of the season. They're just waiting to the end of the season. Do you think it matters if we win the league? Is that going to convince him with Champions League football next year?
I think definitely, because you know, the teams like Bournemouth and, you know, mediocre teams in the English Premier League, or even teams at the top of the Championship, I mean, they might be able to offer more money, but at the same time, you know, the Champions League is a window for every player, and if you perform as well in that window, then you obviously, you know, look at Kieran Tierney, Van Dijk. So it's just a matter of time. You know, cream always rises to the top. So if he can do that in the Champions League, then you know that's every player's dream. So I mean, if we have Champions League, I can't see Vickers or him leaving.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think to be honest, both of them will stay. I think, especially if we win the league, I think the money will be there to buy them, and then I think we could potentially kick on next season Champions League. John, going to talk about the unbelievable bad refereeing by Don Robertson yesterday. You know, 3 penalty decisions, and we only got one of them. You know, the first one by Hungbo. I mean, he nearly catches the ball. And I know, like, potentially, I think the only defence for the referee is that he's probably going to say that Hungbo was too close to Jota. But I don't know where your seat is at Celtic Park. But did you see it at the time? Did you think? I know you would have been shouting for it, but did you think it? Did you think it was a penalty at the time?
Yeah, I thought it was a penalty. I thought the distance rule is one that I've been a bit, you know, sceptical of, because I actually don't know the distance. You know, the distance is different every time for every different penalty that you could probably get in terms of handball. But that was clear as day. The ball hit off his hand, and you know, we're all shouting for it. But again, you know, I think it's almost, you know, one of the ones that, you know, we won the game comfortably. But you know, if it had been a tighter game, it's one of the ones you'd be quite, you know, laser focused on to, you know, try and rectify or try and, you know, get them correct and across the line properly. But again, you know, obviously, it's just one of the ones that you know, we have to put up with at this point in the season. There's going to be decisions that aren't going to be very good. They're not going to be ones that we like. So I think we're at this point of the season where every decision is crucial now.
Yeah, and obviously, like talking about Dyson Maeda, obviously, he works so hard, and his pace it really lights up a game. Did you think yesterday was his best game in a Celtic jersey?
Without doubt, he was electric. I thought Maeda had, I thought he was. I don't know what he was chasing, but he was chasing at the right time. He was chasing, closing down. The keeper closing down their centre backs, full backs, and it was just relentless. He didn't stop. I don't know how he gets his energy. I don't know how he's managed to play a full season in Japan and then come to us and still have that energy. But he is a fantastic battery power player.
Yeah, and obviously, I mean, one of my mates texted me Gianni last night to say reports that Maeda's been reported running down London Road chasing a ball. So I mean, he's just a bundle of energy. But I think a lot of Celtic fans, Gianni, will probably say he probably needs to chip in with more goals. Do you think it's just a settling in problem sometimes with them?
I mean, it's hard because Kyogo and now Giakoumakis have set the bench so high, and I think that's the issue. But, listen, you've got to give the guy a chance, and I mean he's not playing bad, but ultimately a striker's role is to put the ball in the net. So I don't know. It's a tricky one because his performances are good. I mean, yesterday he ran non-stop. He's like the road runner, man. He reminds me of a guy. He was just never ending, that guy. But I mean, he's done okay. He's not that. I don't think he's at the point where the fans are getting fed up with him. We're winning. He's getting the odd goal here and there. It's just that Jack and Dogo have set that level so high that I just don't know if you can expect every player to come up to that.
Yeah, and obviously, we'll talk about Ross County went down to 10 men. By this point, it was 3-0. Maeda had already scored. Giakoumakis had banged in too. Potentially, Giakoumakis should have had his hat-trick with a penalty that we never got. But in terms of the red card, a lot of people are saying it's debatable because he won the ball but went through the man. For me, I think it's a red card. Gianni, what did you think? Do you think there was any potential?
I mean, listen, if you ask me, the refereeing decisions in Scotland are just shocking. And I mean, if somebody puts money on Rangers getting a penalty every game, then you're always guaranteed your coupon. You know what I mean? So I just feel that I don't mind not getting the penalties like the one yesterday. I mean, the guy's arms were just completely unnatural position, so that was a penalty. I mean, unless the referee thought it hit his head or something, I don't know, or his shoulder. But I mean, he probably should have had the Specsavers, as we say. But no, the red card. I mean, here's the thing. Yeah, I think when he tackled them, both feet were off the ground. So I think that was the ultimate decision. But there was a tackle just before that. I think he did. Who was it on, John? Was it on Maeda?
I think it was. Aye, it was. It was close. I would say it was probably a booking.
Aye. So justice served at the end of the day. So.
Yeah, and absolutely. Ollie McGlinchey, welcome to the page. I know he tunes in a lot. We're all talking about Jota and CV coming the end of the season. Will Celtic take up the option to buy Maeda? I think the guy gives us another dimension. He's not a striker, prefers to play off the left. I think that's where he plays a lot better. I know he seemed to be playing a bit like that in the Dundee United game, and we'll touch on that. I just, as I say, I think, because I agree with you, Gianni, in terms of, I think that Kyogo especially has set the benchmark so high that I think we're almost a bit spoilt, as if to go, well, Maeda should be banging as many goals in as that. But in terms of, obviously, yesterday, Giakoumakis got his hat-trick in the end from the penalty spot. I loved the fact that Juranovic, who obviously was on the park and was the designated penalty taker, then handed it to Giakoumakis to get his hat-trick. As I say, back-to-back hat-tricks. And unbelievably, there's never been a hat-trick in that fixture before. So that's a bit of history for Giakoumakis. But as I say, listen, it was a 4-0 win. It was comfortable. I know Rogic went off injured, and hopefully it's nothing too serious. But it was great to see Abada and Turnbull come back on, and especially Turnbull, to come on. Do you think now, John, we are kind of full squad once Kyogo does come back in a few weeks, do you think that's it? We're literally full steam ahead for the title.
I think we are. I think we are, guys. I think it's looking as though the strength of the Celtic team, obviously barring Kyogo, at the moment is in top form. I think Ange was saying that the energy levels that he expects at the end of the season are extremely high, and I think that the intensity, I don't think it drops. I think there's just this upness. Get the intensity levels higher if we need to win games. I think that's what will get Celtic across the line in terms of going towards the league. But I think with the players that we've got at the moment, I think we look very strong. I think we look in a position where we have options. Even like playing Maeda out on the left hand side, and bringing in Turnbull, Abada. These guys coming on to actually effective game. Let's not forget Turnbull last year was the player of the year for Celtic, I believe. Johnny might know. I think it was it last year that he won Celtic Player of the Year, and then I think he won Football Writers Player of the Year. Not sure, he's a phenomenal player, David Turnbull. Obviously been out with injury. To bring him on at this stage in the season is a fantastic thing. And we obviously have Christopher Yulee in the background. We've got certain other players in the background that can we can look forward to hopefully seeing at some point. But I'm absolutely delighted that we're looking so strong at this point in time.
I mean, we've got great attacking options and great midfield options. We've been very lucky that Starkveld and Vickers, they've survived injuries. And I remember a couple of times when we just didn't have any centre backs at Celtic because everyone was out. But we've been lucky that way. And with Kyogo being injured, Giakoumakis has came strong, and Maeda. I think I agree one of your comments before. Maeda's is a off the ball kind of player. And I don't think he's like the number 10. He's more a inside left kind of guy, I think, but somebody's saying Ediguchi get a chance. I mean, he's another trooper, squad player. But the signings this year have been phenomenal. There's not really been a bad signing. I
think the only one that you could really doubt, I think, or cast a doubt over somewhat is James McCarthy. But I think that's just fitness issues, maybe that's the problem there, Gianni.
Yeah, he's kind of been. I think he's the biggest letdown this season as far as signings go. I mean, our Rangers version of their Welsh brought in, but I don't know how long he's been given now, or if they'll keep him on. But his fitness is always. But he had that problem in England. He was always unfit. Played great.
Yeah. But I think that was the problem. I think the fact that he came from the Premier League, and I think there was almost a kind of an expectancy with him. And as you say, the way Ramsey kind of carries that when coming to Rangers kind of thing, I think they thought a lot of him, and it's obviously not worked for him yet. And listen, hopefully it doesn't work for Ramsey. I know he scored today for about 2 years out. I mean, I think I could have scored that with my shirt. But listen, we'll move on to Dundee United. Obviously, a massive game at Tannadice Monday night. I thought, first and foremost, well done to the fans that turned up, because Monday night, I'm sure there was a lot of half days getting taken in work to get up to Tannadice in time. But I thought the boys turned up as they normally do, in full voice, and it was probably comfortable. I know Dundee United came out to kind of play at the start, but that's what opened us up. And obviously, John Kalmack opened the score with the aid of a deflection. But for me, I mean, he was my man of the match during the week. I don't know if you agree with that, or if you had another choice for man of the match.
Listen, see, even thinking about Celtic on Monday night was a great thing. But I actually went to the game, and I actually had to sit in the Dundee United end because my mate got me a ticket in their end, so I had to watch it from the silence of the back of kind of the orange wall at the back of the kind of their main support, and it was very difficult. But thankfully I managed to survive. I managed to get out, but I could.
Were you sitting on your hands basically? Oh, this happened last time. We've got you, Gianni. Obviously, the Dundee United game. I don't know if you got to see it.
Yeah, I
did. You did. What was your thoughts on the game kind of thing?
I watched it when I was up in Winnipeg. It was my last day filming, so I was luckily because of the time difference, I managed to get it in. But I don't listen. They cruised it, absolutely cruised it, and I mean, it just shows them that Dundee United is a hard place to go to, and they always put up a good game when they keep it Parkhead. I felt that.
Yeah.
And I think have you not dropped points against them this season? Did we not draw a game against them?
I think it was at Celtic Park. Am I right in saying earlier in the season? Am I right in saying that?
Aye. We won one as well, didn't we? We won one. Abada scored at the
scored at the death. I remember that. Yeah, but we did draw one each with them at Celtic Park, and I think we beat them 3-0 at Tannadice in the league. So we beat them 3-0 twice and away from home, and beat them 1-0 and drew one each at Celtic Park. But for me again, Maeda's running, his work rate was phenomenal. We're going to talk about the Rio Hatate tackle. Gianni, for you, is it a red card?
I mean, I don't know, it's 50-50. It's honestly, it could go either way. I mean, it's definitely a booking.
Yeah.
But, it's a tough one. I think, do you think you should ask Larson?
I know with his Larson was probably shouting for a red card. It sounds things.
I know he's there in the background, and it won't make any noise hopefully, but he was certainly making some noise on Monday night. I think that was a close one. I think Hatate got off with one. I think it could have been a red quite easily. But it's fantastic how he stayed in the park. I'm just hoping nothing retrospective comes from it. I thought it was a definite red. I don't know what you guys think.
Yeah, I thought it was debatable, but I did think it was just. I think because he's going at such pace, he kind of goes to get the ball off the first guy, who then passes it to Freeman. I think it was Clark to Freeman, and then obviously by that point he's already sliding in. He's already committed, and I don't think there's intent to hurt the player. I think yesterday when you look at Kane Ramsey's slides, I think there's intent to possibly hurt the player because they just lost the third goal, and I think his head's just went to a place kind of thing. So I think there's a difference with the two tackles. I don't believe there was intent to hurt the player. I think it's just mistimed, and I know that he probably isn't that kind of player. I don't think the Japanese boys really are that way inclined kind of thing. I think they're very hangry. And I should probably just point out to the viewers that Larson is John's cockatiel. So just in case anybody was like, why are they talking about Larson shouting for a red card?
You might hear it in the background, guys. I know you might be listening to the podcast, but there's a cockatiel with a big Mohican, and I've had him for 18 years. Obviously, he's just survived through thick and thin, and he's a big Celtic bird, but hopefully he doesn't whistle and interrupt anymore. Breaking down the internet, etc.
So yeah, as I say, we'd already went 1-0 up, and then obviously into the second half, there was chances. Obviously, the first half, I thought Celtic were really dominant, and then obviously Giakoumakis tucks in. We should probably talk about the Maeda goal that gets chopped off actually in the first half. For me, I couldn't believe that it got chopped off because obviously the rules state that it's not a deliberate handball, and as Chris Sutton says at halftime, the guy Giakoumakis must be a genius if he's played it deliberately on his own hand to play it onto Maeda. Gianni, did you think it was harsh on Maeda?
I agree with Chris. Actually, I think that it's completely different from yesterday. The handballs. I mean, the handball thing is it deliberate? Is it? And I think I don't know the handball situation. It's got strange because now you've got defenders putting their hands behind their back. Like a lot of these European players will put their hands behind their back because they're frightened in case with a cross it hits the arm. And then when you look at that kind of play, and then get back to the penalty from yesterday with it, so get back to the Giakoumakis handball. I mean, I got to agree with Chris. I don't really think it was a deliberate handball.
Yeah, and John, what did you think it was harsh, or do you think it was it was probably justified. Do you think if that goes against us, do you think that we're shouting for that they should have been given?
I seen a goal, I think maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago. I think Middlesbrough scored it. I think it was, I can't remember who it was, but Middlesbrough scored it. It's an identical goal. I think what it is something on the lines of, if the ball touches the player, touches the hand, and then subsequently goes to another player and they score, it counts. But if the person who handballed it thereafter scores, that's when it's disallowed. But it's allowed if it goes to another player and then they subsequently score. It's a bit weird how it works, from what I've heard. But again, it's one of the ones that's a bit trivial to answer. I don't think the referee's going to satisfy Indy in that situation. I think it's a lose-lose.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're changing the handball rule and the offside rule that much that even referees are probably, I don't really know what to give you. But obviously, in terms of, we go on and get the second goal, Giakoumakis, great running, great ball in. And obviously, Benji Siegrist, who has been, immense at times for Dundee United and kept us out in long spells in certain games this season. Obviously, he makes a bit of a blunder dropping the ball. I suppose that's the kind of striker that we've been missing in recent seasons, probably.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as I said, like this season with strikers, we're spoiled. Granted, Yeti's obviously completely out the form, but with Kyogo, Giakoumakis, and Maeda, we've got an excellent trio there that I think are for the future, and they all bring something different. And it's just that prowess of Giakoumakis, and even Maeda at this point. He covers every inch of the pitch, so. It's definitely something we needed, so it's great to have the options, and who cares? Listen, see, at the end of the day, as long as if some decisions don't go against, if they go against us and we don't get them, it doesn't matter if we're winning 3-0, 4-0. It's the ones when we're drawing and we need the decisions. So let them have wrongful decisions now, but and if we make enough noise, it puts the pressure on the bigger games that they'll know against us as much.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously, it was great to see we Karamoko Dembele coming on, John, and obviously getting a chance because I suppose it's been frustrating for Celtic fans. He's been at the club so long. We've heard such great things about him. We've seen kind of great things from him, whether it's been in reserves or whether it's been in the unders or whatever. But do you think in the title run and he's going to have a part to play, or do you think it's maybe just we cameo roles here and there?
I think it's going to be what you said, guys. I think it's going to be cameo roles, just because you've got on the right hand side, you've got Abada and Forrest who would probably play ahead of them. You've got Jota who might get put out there just for talk's sake if you put Maeda on the left hand side, and it's one of the ones that I think if you're 2 or 3-0 up, you can put him on and cause problems. I think he's an exciting player. I'd love to be able to say that he's he's going to be the main man in the running, but I think there's other players ahead of him that will kind of pip him to that. I don't know what you guys think.
I mean, how old is he now?
I think he's just turned 19, if I'm right in thinking. And I mean, I think it's maybe his height in stature that maybe is maybe putting managers or coaches off putting him in the first team. But I mean, at 19 years old, if you're not ready or if you don't feel he's ready enough, then, and I've made this point before, if you don't think he's ready, get rid of him. Sell him. Because I think we just need to give him more of a chance. To be honest, I agree with you that it's positional wise that there's a problem because there's such a kind of influx of players that can play in that position and that are ahead of him. But I just think when is this boy going to get a chance, get a proper run of games going? Do you think so?
He needs to be sent out to like a Livingston or something, not Livingston, but a lesser team where he gets to play 90 minutes and he can really shine, and that's what he needs. But let's not forget, Frimpong was probably his stature, and let's not forget Messi. Messi was hardly the big robust 6-foot guy, so he's got plenty of time. He's only 19, but he definitely needs to I feel like he needs to get farmed out, you know, and come back.
I'd probably agree with that in terms of maybe like out to a kind of Aberdeen sort team, or maybe Hibs or something, you know, like somebody that likes playing attacking football, that is a kind of top team in the league, I suppose, kind of thing.
Yeah, Hibs would be a great shout. If they can send him out to Hibs, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, and obviously, I think he's on the brink of kind of choosing the Ivory Coast to represent his country. I know he's played in the unders for Scotland and England as well. For me, I think Scotland are missing a trick. I imagine Scotland are obviously doing their best to persuade him. But I mean, I just think in terms of nationality wise, I think I'd love to see him feature in some kind of Scotland squad in the future. That obviously would be the under 21s now, but in terms of, as I say, we're going to. Sorry, Gianni.
I think they've tried. I mean, I don't think it's for the lack of them.
Yeah.
But, you know, he's played, as you say, he played a few levels at Scotland, but you know, he's getting his head turned with England and Ivory Coast, and you know.
Yeah, I think he was saying it was. I don't know if it was his mum or his granny. It says that she always wanted him to play for Scotland. So I mean, who knows? We might end up seeing him playing for Scotland. Just in terms of Scotland, obviously we're going to move on to the whole Ukraine saga. You know, the country's been left in a bit of limbo over this World Cup playoff. The game was meant to be played on Thursday night alongside the Wales and Austria other semi-final. That's obviously not going to happen. The game's been put back to June, potentially. Might not get played at all. It's a strange kind of situation, and nobody really knows what to say, Gianni. But in terms of what do you think there's a solution that keeps everybody happy?
They should just forfeit. I mean, I can't understand why the game's postponed. I mean,
yeah.
It's not about. I'm not being cold-hearted, but there's so many other sports where Ukrainians are trying to compete for world championships or whatever, and they're not holding up. You know, it's terrible what's happening in Ukraine, but I mean, this could last. It could last till the end of the year, but we got to keep postponing. You know, so I mean, that's my feeling. Is, you know, you've got tennis players, you've got, you know, racing drivers, you've got so many different people in all different athletics. And they're not asking for the championships to get suspended or postponed. And it's tragic what's happening again. But, you know, it was very, you know, it's good of Scotland to say that. But at some point, we're going to have to say, look, you know, we've got to move on. Because even for the fans, I don't know if that pushes the next playoff further back. When was that planned to be?
Well, the playoff final. The semi-final was obviously going to be this Thursday, 24th of March. The final against Wales or Austria would be the 29th of March, would be a Tuesday. So obviously, you know, there's been talk. I know the SFA supporters president Andy Smith was on the Go Football show at the end of last week, saying that, you know, they've been in consultation with the Scotland fans. They've basically been saying the Scotland fans are kind of unanimous in saying that the UEFA and FIFA should be urged to create an extra place at the World Cup for Ukraine and give them a bye, and obviously just let us play the winners of Wales and Austria on the 29th of March. You know, that's obviously what's been said, and that's what's been kind of put about there. I don't think that's potentially going to happen now. I think we've ran too close to it for UEFA and FIFA for both UEFA and FIFA to turn around potentially and say, well, he can just play in the 29th then. So I think the game is going to the semi-final, if Ukraine are able to fulfil the fixture, will be in June. And then I think, you know, once we play that, I think it'll be 5 days later, potentially the final. But there is no dates in place. And as you say, Gianni, this could go on forever. You know, this could go on for long enough that, and it does sound cold-hearted, but at the end of the day, you know, as you say, I don't think anybody has the right answer for this.
I mean, it's everyone doesn't want to say what they think because they think you'll be criticised. But you know, again, you know, sports events are taking place, and because Ukraine's got a participant in that event, it doesn't mean the whole thing's shut down. And we had Formula One today. You know, there's the European Athletic Championships have been going on as well. All that stuff didn't shut down. It's still going ahead. So, you know, and I don't think it's fair on Scotland's preparations for that either. I mean, would we get 5 days to prepare, and Wales or whoever it is, Austria, get a couple of months to prepare? So
yeah. Well, I know that we're obviously playing Poland now at Hampden on Thursday in a friendly with I think some of the profits going to the Ukraine humanitarian fund. So they're obviously going to hope for a obviously a good game to get the team up and running and kind of clicking again, because it's been so long since the last game. So as I say, John, I mean, it is a delicate situation we're in. But do you think it's just a case of UEFA and FIFA have to bite the bullet and say, do you know what, you can't fulfil the fixture? It's Scotland get a bye.
I think it's very hard. Gianni's right. I think it's very hard to keep everybody happy. And I think it's quite hard as well that we've got other sports that are going ahead. With this ongoing humanitarian crisis. I can see why it's been done. I can see why we've taken the kind of compassionate grounds to delay the fixture. But at the same time, when is the actual date going to be played? June time. It's summer. Games are finished. Is it going to be bad preparation time? Is it going to interrupt anything else? I feel as though that there's already kind of this season, with obviously like a World Cup going on and a backlog of fixtures due to coronavirus, down south, and even the likes of here, the disruption it's caused, to have obviously a war in Ukraine, to have that delayed, to then fit that in, I think it's getting a bit messy. So I think Gianni's right. I think the fixture should be played. I think it should be kind of forced a little bit, there's a bye, or there's some sort of kind of agreement to either get Ukraine a spot at the World Cup, even although they've not kind of fully qualified yet, or Scotland get a bye and we just get to play in the final or playoff round.
I think the idea that was bandied about by the SFA supporters president was that potentially you could have one group with 5 teams and the rest of the groups with 4 teams, and it still works out the same as it normally would. Listen, I don't think Ukraine are really thinking about football at this present moment in time, and I don't think it's going to make any difference. I think we just need to get it sorted sooner rather than later.
I mean, it's terrible that they're thinking about football now. I mean, if people are dying, there's 1,000 civilians died, and they're thinking about a football game.
Yeah. I mean, as I say, I don't know if this is coming for Ukraine, the football as a nation, or whether it's to do with FIFA and UEFA and everybody else is kind of talking about it. But because obviously you've had Ukrainian footballers going to war and losing their lives, and it's ridiculous in this day and age. But listen, hopefully we get it sorted and we can get playing, because watching Scotland in the last year or two has been a joy, and I say that really with some compassion, because we've had some absolute howlers in the last 20 years or so kind of thing. So I think it's been brilliant to watch Scotland, and we've really got a chance now to kick on from the Euros last year, and we'll go straight into. We'll talk about an amazing April potentially. We're going to go back to Celtic. We're going to talk about 3 derbies potentially in a few weeks, because obviously we talked about Dundee United win. We then drew Rangers at Hampden. Obviously it had to be. It was an incredible start, Gianni. In 100 years in the Scottish Cup, Celtic, Rangers, Hearts, and Hibs had never been in the semi-finals before together. So that was that. I couldn't quite believe that one, but. Obviously, Easter Sunday, 2 p.m. kickoff. Hearts and Hibs are the day before at 12:30. To me, that's ridiculous in itself, that you're making the 2 Glasgow teams playing later in the afternoon than you're making the Edinburgh teams play. But just in terms of the 3rd April game, the league game at Ibrox, the big one, do you think Celtic would be, I don't mean be happy with a draw, but do you think they would settle for a draw if it was given?
100%. I mean, listen, they'll settle for it if it was given. At that point, then the league is really ours just to lose. I think we've got the firepower right now to beat them. So I don't think we should be aiming for a draw. I think we'll beat them. I really, really do. And if they get lucky and the decisions go against us, then potentially a draw may happen. But if we come unscathed and we still have the point advantage, we're talking about 4 games left. Well, no, once we get in the break, we've our home game against them, so it's St John's still right after them. But we can afford to lose a game because of the goal difference. So I can't see us losing it. If we go unscathed against Rangers, which I'm sure we will, I think that's the league wrapped up. I really do.
Yeah, I would totally agree. I think I think if we do go there and win, I don't see them bouncing back. I mean, they struggled today against Dundee. I know they were in Belgrade and Thursday kind of thing, but obviously, John, 3rd of April at Ibrox, we're going to have fans for the first time in a while. We're going to have fans, although it's only potentially 800. How much of a difference do you think that's going to make, knowing that they didn't have any fans last time at Celtic Park?
I think it'll make a difference. I think even although it's a small allocation, I think the good point is that fans are returning to these games now, to the derbies. Obviously not in the numbers that we would hope for, but they are beginning to return. But what I would say is that the game itself, in terms of Celtic, if Celtic get an early goal in that game, I think the Rangers fans then got on the players' backs. I think the Rangers players struggle under that sort of pressure. So if Celtic can get early goals or early chances and just dominate, do what we've normally do in first halves, having a relentless first half and scoring, I think we'll be in with a chance of winning. And I think the fans helps in that regard, albeit it is small, but I look forward to it.
And obviously, we spoke about injuries in terms of Turnbull's been back, and Abada and Jota, which is massive. Obviously, there is rumours that Kyogo might be fit for it. Do you see him playing any part, or do you think it's maybe a bit soon? Do you see him maybe being rested until the St Johnstone game?
Well, I think Big Ange can't say he's going to be in it because
of the international situation.
They'll call him up to Japan if that's the case. So it's a bit of poker getting played there.
Yeah.
So definitely, he might. I think he might be on the bench. They'll bring him on like we did before, but I don't think they're going to risk him either. If it's too early, they won't risk him because we've waited so long. And one more game's still going to make a difference.
And obviously, John, in terms of we kind of almost rushed him back, I suppose you could say, for the League Cup final. It did pay off because he scored the goals that won us the cup. Obviously, I take it you'd be more than happy with Giakoumakis and Maeda possibly at Ibrox as a possible front two.
I think the two of them have deserved a spot. I think that's the way it's kind of the season's panned out. I thought actually at the time we lost Kyogo, I think there was a slight anxiety because we had the likes of Ayeti's back up, Giakoumakis at that point wasn't the player we had anticipated. I don't think. I thought we anticipated Giakoumakis being a kind of guy that he's strong, obviously granted, but will he be, in and around the box, scoring that many goals that we could, rely on him? But I think now we're getting to a more kind of relying stage that, you're scoring headers, you're scoring tap-ins, you're scoring drop balls. I think Giakoumakis and Maeda both pose great threats. I think the balls in from Maeda have been on a sixpence, and that's fantastic to see. And, if, at this point in the season, bringing Kyogo back, whilst he's carrying an injury, I think again could still be a risk. Because obviously we could potentially, he could get injured again quite quickly. Whereas obviously get Giakoumakis, Maeda, firing all cylinders, and equally as well, we've got a 2-week break now between now and that game. So I feel as though the players will hopefully, obviously barring the international break, hopefully be okay, just in terms of injuries.
Yeah, and obviously, it's going to be a rush to get players back from Japan kind of thing. And in terms of that in other countries, obviously Starfield getting called up for Sweden kind of thing. What I did notice today is, I don't know if this was a ploy by Rangers. Obviously, Morelos went off He was sat in the ice box, his face tripping him as it always does. Guy never smiles. And, he was kind of holding his knee, and I was thinking to myself, I think he went off last week against Dundee in the Cup and with the same problem, and I thought to myself, this is a ploy to keep him in Glasgow, saying he's unfit, and then potentially he makes a miraculous recovery for the Derby game. Listen, as I say, I don't think he's any threat to his up front, but he is a threat in terms of throwing himself about like a big girl. I think that's the problem we're going to have if he plays at Ibrox, kind of thing.
It's all but, Morelos, he always is a threat. I don't rate him as a player. I think if you get a good referee, he isn't a player. But Morelos is, it's the wee niggles, and he's expecting you to push him back, and, the jersey tug. What was it? Not a jersey tug by him the day that caused the penalty?
That was one of the worst refereeing decisions I've seen this season, potentially. I thought it was given a free kick for Dundee. And I don't quite get. Chris Boyd's umming and ahhing in the studio and saying, it's soft and this and that. And I'm like, it's no soft, it's just no a penalty. Do you know what I mean? It's ridiculous. And this is the decisions they're getting. And this is what worries you, obviously, going to Ibrox, because it doesn't matter sometimes how well we play. Gianni, you says it before the game, before we came on air. It doesn't matter how well you play sometimes. Sometimes a referee decision can cost you a game.
Absolutely, and that's why I'd rather Morelos bugger off Colombia and not be, and we've got so many players that are off as well. O'Reilly, I think, he got called up with Denmark.
Denmark under 21s, Starfelt's away to Sweden and things like that. The boys away to Japan.
Everybody. These are far journeys. Traveling. Yeah. The jet lag really affects you. So and it's tiring, and then that's if you don't get any injuries or. You're playing extra games, and some people say, it's okay because it's good because it keeps the cobwebs off them and keeps them going. But it's a risk every time,
I'm wondering if we can get a put call for a postponement again, like we did last time. cause a bit of ruckus again.
Well, I was wondering that if the Omicron thing's going to stop the league.
Call the league, gets that. But in terms of just, obviously, I'll get your prediction, guys, before we finish up. Obviously, the next game, as I say, it does seem weird because it's quite far away still. But obviously, our next game is Rangers at Ibrox, the start of April. John, how do you see the game going? Do you think it's going to be plain sailing for Celtic? Do you think we're going to go out and dominate like we did in the last game?
I think Andrew will make sure that every single player is firing in all cylinders. I think Andrew want more of what he's seen in the best games. That game at Celtic Park where we were 3-0 up at half time. I think Andrew just wants a sort of replicant of that. We're firing in all cylinders. And now, we've got Giakoumakis scoring, so are we going to get balls in the box and Giakoumakis scoring headers? I think it's going to be an interesting game, but I certainly think Celtic will fire on all cylinders. So, if you were to ask me a prediction, I would say 2-0 to Celtic at half time. Just by the way we're playing and the amount of chances we create. The final score, I don't know what it's going to be, but I'm hoping that we can get across the line.
Listen, if you're 2-0 up at half time, I'm sincerely hoping we're winning the game.
No, you can't get off that question. You've got to give an answer.
I think Carter Vickers. Carter Vickers. See, when I was thinking about Carter Vickers, I was looking at him and I was saying he's such a good player that even if you were talking earlier about Morelos, guys, and I think Carter Vickers is in control. I think he's very strong. I think he's got the ability to tackle many players, but you can't fault him this season. In terms of that, I don't know if you'll come on to that, guys, but I think in terms of keeping clean sheets and staying at 2-0. I think if we're 2-0 up, then Carter Vickers is going to make sure that it remains a clean sheet, and Joe Hart as well, of course, and Starfelt. I just hope that we're so strong that day. Sometimes
Big Vickers has a few clumsy moments, but there's been a couple. Didn't he give away a couple of penalties? He's not given away a penalty.
I think he's kind of switched off a couple of times in terms of penalties and things like that. But I think, obviously, John, you're obviously saying he is really kind of calm, and I think that kind of partnership with Starfelt is really starting to blossom now. So potentially, hopefully, we see those two in defence next season. I don't know if I see Julian cracking into that defence again. I really don't know, but I think potentially if we go and win the league and buy Carter Vickers, I think that's a partnership for next season. I do think there'll be goals in the game, and I think it'll be 2-1 to Celtic. I think we will have enough on the day, despite who the referee is or what decisions go what way, kind of thing. Gianni, do you think it'll be are you going for a resounding Celtic victory?
2-1 would have been my shout. But, again, with the pressure of the fans, with the pressure of the Rangers players, with the decisions that they get, I can see a 2-2 draw. Only because, you're going to have 50,000 Rangers fans screaming at a referee. You're going to have usual Morelos up the, make his...
doing somersaults.
In his face and then... but we actually played him... Well, no, the second game, it's the cup game. We played them after they've been to Portugal, I believe.
Yeah, so the first leg, they play, I think it's the 7th, sorry. I think they play the first leg in the 7th, and that's in Portugal.
All right, so they'll be at home, that's a shame.
And they're going to be at home in the second leg. But listen, it could go to extra time or penalties, and who knows. But as I say, that game's going to be obviously Easter Sunday, the cup game. If at Hampden, anything can happen. Will we choke again at Hampden? Who knows? But obviously, Hampden's become a kind of home to us over the last 5 years or so. But listen, I mean, who knows what's going to happen? But listen, guys, we'll end it there. I'll let you get on, Gianni. I know you have lots to do today. Potentially, it's night time for us. It's Gianni. He's got the rest of the day ahead. Anything exciting in the pipeline, Gianni, before you go?
I just finished a movie called King of Killers, did with Frank Drill up in Winnipeg and Stephen Dorff. And then A Day to Die should hit the UK in June on Netflix, the movie I did with Bruce. But I think it's on Apple TV right now. That was another one did with Frank Grillo as well. But it's good. Things are good. Keep busy, so enjoying it.
Good stuff. As I say, hopefully we'll be able to get you back on to talk all things Celtic soon. Hopefully near the end of the season when the league's wrapped up, when we've beat Rangers and knocked them at the cup, and it's all good. John, listen, thanks for jumping on, mate. As I say, always appreciate you coming on. And as I say, guys, we'll be back next week, just probably the Saturday before the Rangers game. We'll go on a Saturday night. Because I might be a bit not compass mentis this Sunday after the Rangers game. But listen, guys, remember keep liking the page, keep following the page. John's on TikTok. Give Gianni a like on Twitter, and message him and find out what he's up to, kind of thing. As I say, we're available to download on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and wherever you listen to your podcasts. But as I say, until next time, guys, thanks for watching. Hail, hail.